All right, to our first conversation now. Well, cost of governance is a much talked about issue in the Nigerian political discourse. Politicians are seen as flamboyant and earn some of the largest salaries compared to their counterparts in other parts of the world. About 40% of national budget goes into recurrent expenditure, and revenue is squeezed right now in Nigeria, even as debt servicing gets a huge chunk of the budget. Joining me now is Mr. Gbolahan Lojide, Public Finance Advisor. Great to have you on the show. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Nice to be on the program.
Fantastic. So we did get that report that former President Buhari, former VP Osinbajo and others to get about 64.72 billion naira severance package at a time where we're in dire need, of revenue. Can we afford, the government with all of these headwinds, looking at right now, we're trying to, we're servicing a lot of debt right now, and to fund the budget, we're still having to borrow, for that. How are you seeing all of this?
I don't think the problem is that 62.4 billion or thereabout. It was just a screaming headline. When you go into the details, after mentioning Buhari and Osinbajo, that word, others, included 360 members of the House of Rep, included their aides, included the governors and their aides, included the aides of the ministers and the ministers themselves, and the aides at the presidency and special assistant. So it's a whole lot of people. So by the time you break it down, you find out that the severance package for the president, for example, was about 12 million naira. What is 12 million naira? As a matter of fact, it's such an embarrassing amount that may be part of the problem that we need to solve in the future is to consider how we can make post-exit interesting for people like the president, so that while they are in office, they're able to concentrate on the work, not thinking about the fact that when I'm leaving this place, my severance package will be 12 million. 12 million is how much? Maybe about $13,000 or $16,000. I'd say it is not a deal. When you go further and you look at the pension for the president, it comes to about 350,000 naira every month. Who does that? Who gives their president 350,000 naira every month? So there's a problem right there. However, here is where the money is drifting away that we are not watching. It is in the number of aides that some of these public officials have. I don't know if you remember that Wike at some point appointed about 200,000 aides. They were being paid from government coffers. The same thing goes with a lot of our public officials who will appoint and appoint and appoint. We've even seen something as ridiculous as, was it commissioner for enjoyment or something like that in Imo State at some point. So that could be where we are wasting this money. We must also begin to ask some questions. I mean, from a numbers perspective like myself, I'm saying, why do we even need a bicameral legislation? What naira and kobo value is the fact that 360 people have reviewed something and another 109 is sitting on that same document? What naira and kobo does it translate to for me? Maybe there are political exigencies in the evolution of democratic process that made a bicameral necessary. But from a money perspective, it doesn't make sense, and I think we must be asking questions amongst ourselves. We also have issues of ghost workers. Who are we paying? Recently, there was a report that spoke about a salary padding. In one of those salaries that were padded, we had someone who was being paid 4 times what was the legal entitlement. So these are some of those places where the money are going to. But in terms of the per individual payment, severance package given to president or vice president, they are actually embarrassing.
So I guess the severance packages isn't the issue, it's the number of aides. Okay, but what do you think, because at this time, we're cash-strapped, right now, and we're servicing huge debts at this point. Recently, the subsidy issue now, that's another one that's biting, seriously at this time. And at the end of the day, the burden is being passed on, to the masses. Also, in trying to raise revenue, we've talked about increasing VAT, increasing the, taxes, at this time, which still translates to a burden for households and businesses. How can we get solutions, right now for this revenue problem that does not involve shifting burden to the people?
Okay, two things we need to do. We must reduce wastage and corruption. And then we must actually rev up our revenues on the other side. If we do these two things, we will expand that gap and they will have more money on the table to run the government properly. Cost, I've spoken about ghost workers. Sometimes we don't even know who we are paid. Some of those people don't appear in any office, but they're on the payroll and they get paid every month. What is even more ridiculous with ghost workers is that in certain instances, from time to time, we will say, oh, we have discovered 10 ghost workers on a particular payroll. These ghost workers, they received salary last month. Let's say we have 10 people on the payroll. So 10 people received salary last month, but we found out that 5 of them were ghosts this month. So we will not be paying those ghosts any longer. But the question is, who were the people that received the ghost salary last month? Do we go back there, ensure that they vomit what they collected? Because see, the reality is that if somebody has been collecting salary, it is either he comes around and collects cash. I'm not sure we still pay cash salaries, at least not at the federal government level. So which means we transfer it to a particular account. The account has detail, he has a BVN, he has address, he has picture. But we have not heard that ghost workers have been punished in this country before. That, oh, these 10,000 people that we found out were ghosts, these were the people, and we have recovered the money. We don't do that. So there is wastage, there is corruption, which we need to think about the fact that recently a former minister was said to have appropriated 22 billion. It's still an investigation. I'm not saying I've found guilty. 22 billion naira. You also have the former accountant general who is still in the midst of 89 billion naira. You see, when you look at the quantum of this number, 89 billion, some states do not have that much money to spend in an entire year in terms of net revenue. So, and these are the money that are in the coffers and are being taken out indiscriminately without us being able to police that system. So we need to deal with cost matters, corruption matters. On the other side, we must rev up revenue. Now, you spoke about taxes. We have to be very careful how we navigate issues of tax. And I'm glad that the president has spoken to that. He spoke about multiple taxation and how we will be revisiting it. He wants to create the right environment for businesses to do well. And the reason is this. These same businesses are going to pay you corporate income tax. If you have stifled their operations with multiple taxation and you rev up their cost profile, then they will not be making much money. If they don't make much money, where are you expecting the taxes that they will pay you? Where would they come from? So I'm thinking that the president will most likely be revisiting the Finance Act 2023 to ensure that things that might not be business friendly are addressed. Issues about increase.
Speech, he did talk about getting rid of multiple.
It's a very delicate balance, and I hope we can do something about it.
Yes, and definitely it has to be done, but what would that really look like? If the Tinubu government is looking to cut cost of governance, what should that look like, for us?
Number one, we need to review the personnel costs. When you go back to the recurrent expenditure, which is about 40% of the entire budget for this year, we must ask, like I've mentioned a couple of times now, who are those people? We review it. We weed off people that are not supposed to be on the payroll. We will save money from that. We deal with matters of corruption. You see, one of the things where we have fought corruption in this country is we wait till people have stolen our money. Then we start chasing after them, hoping to recover. Some of the people that stole money 8 years ago have not even stepped back into this country. We don't even have a window to prosecute them at all. So prevention of those things must be there. We need to also create the right environment for businesses, which is part of what the president said he was going to do. So issues around infrastructure. Let's look at agriculture. In agriculture in Nigeria, about 40% of what we produce gets rotten. A basket of tomatoes that was about 12,000 naira in February is about 40,000 as we are speaking. So issues that make it difficult for farmers to either go to their farm, those are insecurity matters. Issues after they have gone to the farm and harvested, issues that make it difficult for them to bring the product from center of production to the center of consumption in the market is a problem we must address. Issues around value add. No country gets rich, no country makes money by exporting primary product or dealing in primary. So the industrialization side of things, how we deal with matters of electricity, how we deal with matters of transportation system to ensure that the right business environment is created. When it is created and businesses thrive, there is a way it triggers mutual prosperity. When businesses thrive, they pass on the prosperity onto staff, onto other stakeholders within the system, and the government earns more money from corporate income taxes, from the pay-as-you-earn, that the staff will also be able to contribute to the center. Of course, taxation comes ready-handy, but the start point for taxation is not to increase them. Taxation starts from being able to deal with the issues of collection. There's a collection effectiveness and the collection efficiency. Efficiency has to do with how much are we spending to collect a naira of revenue. Effectiveness has to do with the fact that in many books of companies today, salaries are deducted as payee from staff, and those deductions are not remitted to the authority. And along that, we also have several other leakages. So there is the collection efficiency and effectiveness. Then we need to now also bring in more people into that tax net. There are a lot of people that don't pay that. And incidentally, some of them are actually the high-earning people, people in the top 1%, top 5% earnings who do not pay, because it is easier for you and I, who probably are paid salary, and somebody will have removed the taxes from the salary before you get the net. Now, there are some people who are not paid like that. And the capacity of the FIRS and the local tax authority, the state tax authority, to track the income of those people, I must admit it has been increasing, but it has not translated as much into the pockets of the government. So collection issues, expanding the net, and then after we have done that, government must be able to now show the people that your tax money is working for you. When the people know that the tax money is working, they are in a better position to want to pay you more taxes. That is when you can start talking of.
Well, I guess we need to block all the leakages so we can actually get more revenue at this time, because we are in dire need of revenue right now. Thank you so much, Mr. Gbolahan Olojide, Public Finance Advisor. Thank you so much for your perspective today.
Thanks for having me.